well, anyway, let's start, shall we, guys? Welcome to the Eagles Perch. Welcome to the Matchday Live Review. Tonight's going to be really easy, and I think you'll agree that the result today was fantastic. Just to start off with, I'm going to pick up on something I think yesterday that I'd caused a bit of a stir on Twitter and also on the group, with regards to a comment I made. Hi, Jake, by the way. Saying that Palace weren't safe on 39 points. Well, look, just to say this, we're safe now. Okay, I think it's the fact of when you're a Palace fan, you get complacent because you don't want to be in that position where, you know, we've been before with years and years ago when Oldham knocked us into relegation. I think it was 92, 93 season. I'm sure someone will put me straight. I think it was 92, 93. So obviously, you always are concerned about Palace when they're in a dangerous position like they were. But tonight, none of that. It's all good, especially after today's 3-2 win over at the Emirates against Arsenal. Just setting the scene for the game. Arsenal hadn't lost to Crystal Palace since 1994. October 1994. Palace hadn't won a game away from home at the Emirates. Literally, Arsenal had only lost 2 of their last 22 home meetings with Crystal Palace. So, you know, it was a big victory for us today. Massive victory, and it was an unbelievable result. Palace, I think when we looked at the side today that was put out, we weren't expecting it. Hi, Laurie. Nice to see you on. Hi, Paul. I know Paul said he was going to come on. Hi, John. Hi, Andy. Fantastic result. So, yeah, I mean, looking at the side that Roy put out today, he started off with Guita in goal, Wan-Bissaka at left back, and then at right back, Martin Kelly, Scott down at the centre backs, Ward at left back, and in a midfield of MacArthur, Luca, Kouyaté and Maya, and then up front he played 2 up front, which was fantastic. It worked. It really worked to treat, and don't understand why we hadn't done it before. Who'd have thought it? 4-4-2. Benteke and Zaha. And Arsenal, looking at Arsenal's side, Arsenal set up with quite, I would say, compared to someone that, you know, they've got a few players out. You know, they were missing some players, but that's no excuse. They had Leno in goal, Mustafi, Koscielny, Mavropanos, Jenkinson, Guendouzi, Elneny, Kolasinac, Ozil, Lacazette and Aubameyang. You know, it wasn't a rubbish side by any matter of means. They are a good side, Arsenal. But my father is an Arsenal fan, just to set the scene. He said before the game we had a chat about it, and he turned around and he said, watch out, Ozil won't have a good game, and most of our players won't be up for this because they're more up against, when it comes to the big 6 or big 4 or 5 teams that are in the division, they will play. Today they won't. And to be fair, he wasn't wrong. I don't think Arsenal really got going, really. I mean, Palace, the stats don't really show everything, the whole game, because if you look at it, Palace had about, I'd say it was about 70-30 according to the stats, about 70-30% in favour of Arsenal. You know, we were on the back foot for most of the game. You know, we played well on the counter. And I thought, you know, watching it, I don't know about you, but I was quite nervy because, you know, it was a fact of, I thought that Arsenal could have gone up a gear. They were playing to a point where they could have gone up a gear, but Palace were very resolute. The defence today, I thought, played well. There were a few issues. There were players at fault. We can't say that Kelly was probably not at fault for one of the goals. I think in the Ozil, the equaliser, he was at fault. Ward was at fault for their second goal. We'll come to that in a bit. But to be fair, we played exceptionally well. I thought the midfield played well. Maya probably weakest out of the lot. I don't think he was pretty much a bit of pedestrian at times. I didn't think he was as good as we could expect. He was probably the one that sort of wasn't in the game as much. Kouyaté, fantastic. Luca again leading the midfield and leading the team brilliantly. But big shout out to Benteke today, because for me, and I know a lot of you will say the same, I've seen it so far from some of the votes, Benteke put in a man of the match performance. He was brilliant, and no offence, That guy has been doing that since he's come back from injury, and he deserved the goal today, which he got. So just going through it, the first goal came on the 17th minute from Benteke. It was a free kick on the right-hand side. It must have been around about 27, 28 yards out from goal, just outside the penalty area on the right-hand side. Luca taking it, curls in a beautiful ball, whips it in. And Benteke, how many times have we seen that? When he's at his best, putting that head on the end of that ball and putting it in the back of the net past Leno with no issue whatsoever. Brilliant goal. And that set the tone for the game. I thought Palace from there, should have had a few more. Kouyaté, for instance, had plenty of chances. He had two in a row against Leno, and Leno was fantastic again. I mean, he's a brilliant goalkeeper, Leno. Let's be fair. But he made two great snapshot saves from Kouyaté. We could have had 2 or 3 first half, despite being on the back foot. And I think I showed in the statistics. You looked at the statistics in the first half. As much as we didn't have much possession, what we did have, we used, and we used it to effect. Laurie Scott, totally agree, John, from the last few games. We can see how much we've missed Benteke all season. Can't disagree. Richie, Benteke should have scored 2 today, but he played brilliant. I think the thing is that, as I've said, and I think a lot of people have said over the last couple of games, he needs to be on the pitch. Whether it's scoring goals or not, the fact is he's a big lump, he's strong, and he holds the ball up. And I think we've been saying this for so long about the fact that he's such a good player when it comes to holding the play up, holding the ball up, managing to knock the ball on for people. And, so he's important as much as the fact that he hasn't been scoring goals. He just needed someone to play off of him or be able to play up front with someone. Whether that person's going to be Wilfried Zaha, we'll talk about that in a little while, because obviously the Daily Mail have come up with, there was a report by the Daily Mail, and we'll come up to that later. But to be fair, I thought he has been brilliant the last few games. He gets a lot of stick online, undeserved in my opinion, and I thought today he was fantastic. We went into the break 1-0 up. I think any Palace fan after that, you would be nervy, because I felt we needed another goal. I felt we were definitely on the back foot for most of the game. We defended resolutely, no doubt about that. But there was always that worry that we might end up letting in another goal. And within 2 minutes of the restart, up pops Mesut Ozil on the left-hand side of Palace's right. Gets a lovely ball played through to him. I think Kelly could have cut it out, but he just didn't. He just got in the way. Didn't get in the way of it. I don't know what he was doing. I think he wasn't in the right position, for whatever reason. But he could have cut that ball out. I think he was at fault. But apart from that, he had a pretty decent game. I'm not going to say pass blame on anyone, because they were solid apart from that. And Ozil knocked it low past Guita. Could Guita have done better? Again, I think that's a bit unfair on Guita, because he had some great saves during that game, most notably from Ozil later in the second half. So it is a fact that at that point it was 1-1. Arsenal, the red tide were coming forward. You would have thought after that maybe that we would have more. We would be going 2-3 down, because normally Arsenal up that gear and they can find it in themselves to bring on players like Mkhitaryan. I mean, they'd already brought on Maitland-Niles and Iwobi, who'd already changed the game for them in those first 2 minutes. But then on the 61st minute, we get a free kick in our own half. And you don't think anything of it, because it's so deep in it. It's sort of halfway within our own half on the right-hand side. The ball comes over, and Benteke did what we expect him to do. Gets his head on the ball and flicks it on. Now, at that point, you're thinking Wilfried's up against Mustafi. I believe it was Mustafi he was up against. And for all intents and purposes, Mustafi doesn't do anything, really. He sort of tries to get in the way of Wilfried. Wilfried just brushes him aside. And he's through one-on-one with Leno. And Leno did everything he could, made himself big. But Wilf, calm as you like, puts it past Leno, makes it 2-1 to the Palace. And from there, you thought, this could be our day. it really could be our day. And I think that today, I think there's one thing that I noticed. I think I put it in our review of the game while I was going through, while I was typing up live updates, and that is the fact that this season I think Palace have struggled to score from set pieces. We haven't really scored much from set pieces at all, mostly from penalties, but from set pieces we haven't been as good as we have been in the past. But today we scored from set pieces, which made a change for us. It was nice to see. I mean, we scored the first two goals were of set pieces, and the third was a set piece from a corner. And that's what I'm coming up to now, because we got a corner on the 69th minute. Luca again on the ball, beautifully whipped in corner. Dan gets his head on it, manages to direct it in the path of James MacArthur, and MacArthur at the far post heads it into the back of the net, puts Palace 3-1 up. From there, you think, that's it. Game, set and match. Palace have done it, and I think there was a nervy last 20 minutes, especially when we ended up with Aubameyang putting in their second, which, looking at it, you think Palace should have done better from there. Aubameyang goes through 3 players. He literally went past them like they weren't even there. Obviously, tried to put a through ball through to Lacazette, which was intercepted by Joel Ward. But unfortunately, Joel Ward just knocked it straight into his path, and you don't need to give a player like Aubameyang, those sort of opportunities, because he'll just take them. And he did. On the 77th minute, he just took it and put it past Guita, who, he couldn't do much about it again. I thought, it was hitting low and hard, and was going past him, no doubt. But we played, I think, apart from those 2 issues, I mean, we've got to tighten up defensively. Maybe we could have been a bit more narrower, but then you could argue that the defence needed to be tighter. The defence needed to be getting those challenges in, putting those getting those tackles in and stopping incidents like that from happening. But other than that, Palace, for those last 12, 13 minutes, I don't know where they got 5 minutes from, by the way. I don't know where the hell the referee got 5 minutes added time on from. I don't know if he was trying to give out Arsenal an extra, extra time to do it. But, at the end of the day, those last 12, 13 minutes were nervy. I think we all were worried that we might end up, because Arsenal were putting more pressure on towards the end. They were trying to get a goal. They want to go fourth, and we just didn't allow them. We actually tightened up towards the last 13 minutes. Thought the game management was good towards the end as well. Luca went down, I think, in the in injury time, and he sort of went down and sort of milked it a little bit. But that's good. That's what we need to be doing. When you're with 3-2 up, against a team like Arsenal, you've got to try and walk the clock down. And Townsend, when he came on again, another player who, when he came on, helped sort of wind the clock down, helped Palace sort of get it in, get that result over the line. And I thought he played with some intelligence towards the end as well. Tried to take it to the corner, try to get the ball, keep possession. I think every single player on that pitch day played exceptionally well. I don't think anyone had a bad game. Yes, there were mistakes. I thought Wan-Bissaka again at right back, brilliant. I mean, I was looking at the. I think I put a stat up on the actual group, which says, Aaron Wan-Bissaka's game by numbers versus Arsenal. Most ball recoveries, 11. Most interceptions, 8. 3 clearances, 3 tackles, 1. He has come on leaps and bounds since he's joined us. Joined from the academy. He's come into the first team. He's been fantastic. He's in a different class. And I think when we've been talking in the past on the other group, we've always said that we didn't think there was academy players that were capable of coming through. And we didn't think there were anyone. I know Matt Woosnam, who we've spoken to on enough occasions, has said, no, there was no one in the academy, no 23s that could come through. No one capable of stepping up to the first team. And I think Aaron was one of them. He used to play at right wing, right midfield. He's gone into the right back position, and I know his coaches at under 23 level used to rave about him in that position. And he's made the step up with relative ease. And today, again, I don't think I've seen a fullback since, I would say, possibly Kenny Sansom come in and have the impact that he's had as a young player. I mean, I could be wrong. I don't know what you guys think, but I think he's probably one of the best fullbacks we've seen at the club. We've had Nathaniel Klein, I know, but I think he's better than Nathaniel Klein. That's not taking anything away from Nathaniel, because he was a fantastic fullback as well, and he's done really well at the clubs he's been. I mean, brilliant at Liverpool. But I think this kid is on another level, and I could see him fitting into any top 6 team, in this country, possibly even abroad. He really is confident. He's a great tackler. He's very he concentrates every single game. And I thought today, I know Arsenal were complaining at one point, I think it was in the first half, about handball, but he never handled it in a million years. He turned his back on the ball, and he stopped the ball from going across. As the law states, if your hand's in an unnatural position, which it wasn't, then it's a handball. But it hit him. It was from a yard. I think even Roy touched on it in a BBC interview he made after the game. Anyway, just looking through what you guys are saying. Darren Humphreys, no young player of the season nomination. Bizarre, unless he is in the running for player of the season. I don't get that. He's not been picked for PFA player of the year. He's not been picked for PFA young player. Player of the year, I wouldn't expect. I'll be honest with you, I wouldn't expect it. Young player of the year, though, when you look at that category and you see that you've got Trent Alexander-Arnold, you've got Bernardo Silva, he's 24. I don't understand that. Raheem Sterling's in there as well. He's already in Player of the Year. Brooks, Bournemouth, I can understand. It's bizarre, because I don't understand why Bernardo Silva's there at all. I know he's in the Player of the Year as well for some obscure reason. I mean, I don't know what you guys think, but why isn't Aaron Wan-Bissaka there? He's had a fantastic season. He's stopped pretty much every top player that he's come up against. Sané, Hazard, he's Mane as well. I mean, he's come up against these players and done exceptionally well. He's a fantastic player, and it shocks me, and I think it shocked quite a few people who aren't even Palace fans, people in the footballing fraternity, how he's not been picked. I think even Ian Wright made a tweet about it saying, "Where's Aaron Wan-Bissaka?" So I don't. To be fair, I know Laurie's put top six bias. Is it top 6 bias? I don't think so. If you're going to have someone like Brooks in there of Bournemouth, who's they're not in the top 6, you've got to look at other players outside. And I think Bernardo Silva has had a decent season, but not to the extent of a player like what Aaron Wan-Bissaka has had this season. I'm just having a look. Paul's already said, do you think we will keep him and Zaha at the end of the season? Listen, I'm going to stick with this, and I've said it all along. Even this, regardless of what the Daily Mail has said about Zaha. Zaha will stay. I've said that. I think the thing is that newspapers, the thing you'll find with newspapers is they could put, they do it for column inches anyway. They can give questions of open-ended answers. So it's a fact of he could, if someone says to you, do you see yourself playing in the Champions League one day? Would you see, of course he's going to say, yeah, I would love to play in the Champions League for somebody, blah, blah, blah. But it's a fact of these things can be said and then put on into a newspaper and then taken at face value. For all you know, it's a fact of you have to be. That's why I said to you, said to a lot, said in the group, you have to be careful with these sort of articles, because reporters are there to make questions to trip players up, and you could say the comments can be taken out of context. And I personally think Wilf will stay. Richie said, "Why do you think he'll stay?" I just think he's settled in South London. I think the fact is when he left to go to Man United, I don't think he settled. He didn't settle at all. I think I've said before elsewhere that when I saw him playing for Man United, I've got a friend of mine who knows him, went to school with him, and went to school with Wilf. And I said to her one day, "Doesn't look right. There's something not quite right with Wilf." When he was at Man United, I didn't think he looked right during the pre-season game. And I said, "Is he all right?" And she said, "I'll give him a ring." And she phoned him, and he was like, "Oh no, I'm all right, but I'm struggling to settle down, sort of thing." So can I see Wilf leaving? If he leaves, would he be going abroad? No way. I can't see him leaving South London. That then leaves London clubs. Would he want to go to Tottenham? Probably wouldn't get on the pitch. They've got wingers. They've got Mora. They've got players that are fine. I don't think they'd go to Tottenham. Arsenal, would he go to Arsenal? Can't see it. Again, I think they've got players. They and as I spoke to my father again about this earlier, and I said to him, "Would you think he'd go to Arsenal?" And he went, "No, because he's not French." Chelsea transfer embargo. Not unless, there are appeals being heard in the summer. Can I see him going there? No. I personally think he'll stay. Aaron Wan-Bissaka, again, he's a young player. I personally think that if he wants to continue his progression, leaving Palace would be a bad idea. Yes, he should leave in the future, I think, because I personally think that he needs to, if he wants to grow as a player, he won't, unless Palace start challenging for Europe and start challenging for trophies, which we probably won't, if we're honest, as a club, then he will need to leave and move to somewhere else, like a Liverpool, like an Arsenal, like a Chelsea, like a Man City. So I don't think they're going to leave this season. I wouldn't be surprised if they leave in the future. I'm not going to say they won't, because who would want to begrudge them, playing elsewhere, playing on a bigger stage? Because I don't think any of us would want to begrudge Wilf or Aaron that, because they have been fantastic. But will they leave this summer? I don't think they will. So let's have a look down. Yeah, I mean, Richie's just saying because the so-called experts don't want to praise anything from Croydon. I don't know. I mean, it's a fact of this season, a lot has been made of the players coming through from South London. You only have to look at players like Raheem Sterling that have come from around here. Obviously, Wilf and Aaron. This is a great catchment area, and this is why I've always said that when the Americans wanted to sell up, I actually turned around and said to you all in the group that I think that Palace is a great club for any sort of person who wants to buy a team out, because of the catchment area, because of the amount of talent we've got in this area. And you only have to look at the players that have come through from South London who, have done so well. Laurie Scott, being controversial, okay, mate, it's probably time to move on from Wilf. If he stays, great, but if not, 60 million in the bank and Damari Gray from Leicester in. Okay, I mean, that's fair enough. I mean, Damari's has had a few seasons at Leicester and done very well. There's obviously some players that, that we could look at. I think there was one that, Benza at Huddersfield, who is, I thought yesterday played quite well for Huddersfield. I mean, he's someone we could look at who's, Ryan Sessegnon. Obviously, these players are going to cost because where they're coming from, and the fact that teams like Huddersfield and Fulham are going to be going down and going to want money to bounce back from to the Premier League. But I mean, there's players out there that could replace Wilf. I don't think we'd begrudge Wilf at all a move, because he's a fantastic player and he deserves to be on a bigger stage. You could see him in the PSG side alongside players like Mbappe and Neymar, just due to the skill that he can produce on a weekly basis. I don't think he's been consistent this season. I think we've mentioned that in the past, but he's a great player, and I do believe that he should be on a bigger stage. And if we keep him here for next season, then brilliant, because we would miss him. And I know that, I think with him in the side alongside Benteke, if we could keep 4-4-2, which I think worked so well today, we'd give any team a run for their money. And I think that was a big problem against City last week, is we didn't give them that sort of, we didn't go at them. We showed them too much respect. This week we actually went for it. We went for Arsenal, and even though we sort of had only 30% possession, we used it well, and we scored 3 goals. And that's Palace all over. We've done it at City as well this season. We scored 3 goals at City and won 3-2. We scored 3 goals at Liverpool. Yeah, we lost 4-3. But the fact is we scored 3 goals at Anfield, and not many teams have done that this season. So, I think that maybe if we do say goodbye to Wilf, it'll be a shame. But moving on from that, I think, I'd hope we will keep him on, and I think he won't leave. But anyway, moving on. Anybody else got any questions? Have a look through, see what else we've got. Let's have a look. Anybody else got any more questions they want to ask? Richie Spider ain't even nominated for Young Player of the Year. Yeah, we've seen that. We touched on that one. Let's have a look. Better defensively. Bats doesn't go back that easily. I think we defensively as a unit today we played very well. At times we did sort of lose our concentration. I think we did for both those goals. Guita, I'll just have a little bit of mention, and I thought we had a fantastic game. Played exceptionally well. Matt saying he's got a question that I haven't seen. One sec, Matt. Okay, looking what he said. I'd like to credit Joel Ward, Dan and Kelly. Superb stay. Also, don't want to keep messaging. Hodgson deserves credit. I know we have fucked up lots, but man, we're on 42 points for Christ's sake. He's the man for next year. End of. Eagles, Eagles, Eagles. Let's have some more stability. Mate, I can't disagree with you. I can't believe that Palace fans are asking for him to go. I've said it. I mean, there was a bit of in the middle of the season. I was questioning him, some of the tactics. But to be fair, he's got it right. I mean, today he's got it right. He's got it spot on. The management was right today. Everything was correct. Everything was right about it. I think the thing is the fact that I know Roy doesn't play probably the style that everybody wants to see. He sort of shackled players that I think people want to see running at defences. He shackled the likes of Zaha at times and Townsend. But that's more against teams that you need to be shackled against. There's against teams that you probably want to be a bit more defensive. I just don't think, though, that letting him go is the right answer. And I think that if Palace can get the right players in during the summer, I think next season we can have a decent season. I would like to see Roy stay. If not, then he needs to have someone come in underneath him who he can teach the ropes and then bring in as manager later. Because obviously Roy's not going to be there forever. I think he's like 72 now, isn't he? He's like 71, 72. So we need to get somebody in long term. I agree with you about stability. We haven't had that over the 7 seasons we've been in the Premier League. Look at the amount of managers we've had. We need to sort of stop that. And I think the only way to do that is to keep Roy on. The coaching staff behind the scenes, I think we need to look at. Because it's no coincidence that after Steve Reid left, that I think we lost a lot of that camaraderie at times, and I think we lost a lot of that shape that we've had, and only recently has it started to rear its head again. And I think that during the middle of the season might have cost us points. I think we need to look at the backroom stuff, but I think Roy has to stay. Stability wise, we need him here. And I can't disagree with you, Matt. I personally agree with you. As for the defence, yeah, again, you've got to credit the defence. Yes, there was the mistakes for their first and second goals, but as a unit today, especially coming in, they're replacing Tompkins and Sacco, who are colossus at the back. and it's hard to replace them. And Dan, we know, is capable, and Kelly has been capable as well. Ward, I thought, had a fantastic game today as well. You know, I think having him at the back rather than having Patrick Van Aanholt running forward, leaving us at that gap at the back, because I know that he's been doing that of late, and then leaving those gaps wide left for other teams to exploit. It helped having Ward there, and I thought Ward had a fantastic game as well. And I'm hoping Ward starts the next game, because he deserves it after today's performance. So just going back to the other chat, let's have a look, see what else we got. P.S. Zaha going nowhere. My mate lives down the road. What else we got? And I know Matt's made a couple of other comments. Roy, we need to be stable. We've gone away and won huge games. Many mistakes, but they just held their own against a huge side. Laurie Scott, Dan, Kelly and Ward are championship defenders now. Oh, that's controversial. Kelly and Ward, I think it's unfair to say they're championship defenders, because they have proven themselves at this level, and Kelly has done it on numerous occasions. I think it's hard to come in and replace players like Tompkins and Sacco, who have played consistently, and then get injured, and then you have to basically throw together. You think about it. Kelly's come in for Sacco, as did Dan, when Kelly had a bad game, and then obviously Tompkins has got injured, and you've now got Dan and Kelly, who haven't hardly played much this season, but they've actually proven themselves now. And I know you'll say no pace, but to be fair, against teams like Arsenal, you have to play narrow, you have to play deep. You can't go too far up the pitch. So that's why they are in the side, because they were set deep further back, because they haven't got pace, but they know how to defend. And for me, they did exceptionally well today. And I think if we'd have played a more higher line with players like Tompkins and Sacco, I think we would have got beaten, and I think we would have got caught out at the back. So actually, having those two at the back without the pace was good for us, because it's made us defend that little bit deeper, defend that little bit narrower, and actually we've come away with 3 points today. So I think that's a bit harsh comment. But Laurie, as I say, you respect your opinion, mate. Richie says Max an enigma. Again, I got to say that today he was very pedestrian. I don't think he was very much in the game. But I agree with you. He's an enigma, and it's one that I don't know if we're going to solve this season. We won't solve this season. We might have to wait until next season to solve it. What I will say, though, was Coetti again today had a fantastic game at midfield, and actually MacArthur woke up. I think the last couple of games he hasn't been as good as I thought he could be, and today he actually turned up. Richie's saying, is he an impact player, Maya, or is it he doesn't get a run of games, or could it be he needs another season? I've always said he's good for impact. He comes on as a sub, and when you want that, he's got that a bit of energy that you really need in the last 20 minutes. Starting, I think the only reason with the fact of he hasn't played well when starting is because he hasn't had that run of games, and I think you do need that run of games. So he's been playing bits here and there, and I think he needs to actually start. If we next season, if we start him and start playing him each game, I think he'll improve. But until that happens, I think he's going to be very much a player that he's going to struggle if he doesn't start, and he's more of an impact player. Matt saying he thinks Meyer is off. Be interesting to see in the summer who goes. Meyer, I hope, doesn't go, because I think he's a better player than we're seeing. Laurie Scott, they need to work out the code if he's an enigma. Indeed. Just looking through, what else have we got? No pace. I know Laurie Scott was mentioning the fact we play pump ball. This is interesting, because I think today, watching that defence, and I don't know what anybody else thinks, is that we may have been hitting the ball downfield a lot. But I think recently, we've let a lot of goals in through us trying to pass out the back and then losing it in the middle of the park. Today, we were just playing no frills, knock it away from the goal. And as much as that's frustrating, and it does come back a lot, I'd rather the ball be away from the goal and getting it away. Yeah, I mean, Benteke's up there, so as long as you're aiming it for Benteke and clearing it from your lines, I don't see the issue. I thought, when we used to play years ago with Damien Delaney in defence, as he got older and he was a lot slower, he used to just to punt it out. And I'd rather see the ball knocked into Rose Ed and Palace reset, or the ball knocked up to Benteke when we're struggling to defend, than trying to pass it out the back and losing the ball in midfield. As much as it's a fact of it's frustrating to see the ball come back, I would rather us be able to clear the ball and clear our lines, or get it away, or get it out of play, to reset and just get the defence back into shape. So I thought today that worked well. So I'd rather it be. I don't know what anybody else thinks. I mean, again, let me know, guys, what you think. Yeah, if we don't play pump ball to Benteke, then he's effing useless, Matt says. We have to play lump ball with him on the pitch. Again, yeah, I think that works for us because, as I say, Roy has now got to get this thing down where he plays Benteke up front with somebody else, because we need to play 4-4-2. And I think today that showed, because if he's on his own up front, he's got no one to pass it off to, he's got no support, and on his own he's useless. When he's got someone to play off of him, he's a much better player. And I think that proved today with that second goal. Because if he hadn't flicked that on for Wilfried Zaha and he was on his own up front, there'd be no one there to play off of. And I think that is now what we need to do. And I'm just hoping Roy takes note of that and actually plays 4-4-2 against Everton next week. Because I think that's how we need to start and carry on. Frank Roberts, will Roy leave or stay? I think he'll stay. Why would we want him to leave? We've got a possibility right now of finishing in the top half of the table. I don't see why. Why would we want Roy to leave? We've got stability. He's been here for a year and 3 quarters now as a Palace manager, and I don't understand why anyone wants to get rid of Roy. As I think we've said earlier on, he's got to stay. Maybe look at bringing somebody in to learn off of him, and then hit someone so they can replace. He can go off and retire, and then someone can take over from him, but not get rid of him. He needs to be there next season. Richie, Big Ben needs a few chances to score. He had a few chances today, I must admit. He did score from that free kick. But I think the thing is that that injury had been plaguing him for a while. It wasn't something that happened overnight. He had that injury for at least for quite a while, and I think we'd mentioned it on enough occasions. And I think that we'll see the best of Benteke now. It's taken him a few games. I think today will be the catalyst for him, and I'm hoping he scores a couple more goals before the end of the season and then can take that on to next season, because I think next season he'll be able to get back to the Benteke we all know he can be. Not Batshuayi then. Batshuayi blows hot and cold. Would like to see I would like to see Batshuayi play off of Benteke, but I think that Wilf will be the player at the moment who will play off of him, unless Roy says otherwise. I think it'll be Benteke with Wilf up front. Richie again, will we buy Ayew? Please say no. Ayew has not done enough for me to prove that that we would need to sign him. I think he'll go back to Swansea. I think he'll go back to the Championship. I don't think he'll sign. Guys, what do you think about that one? Do you think we'll sign Ayew? Laurie Scott, they don't play well together for Belgium. I must admit, I haven't seen them play together for Belgium. I don't think they've ever played together for Belgium, and when they have done, they haven't scored. So I must admit, you need to play two players that can play well off of each other. And tonight, it's quite clear that Wilfried is the best player to play off of Benteke, in my opinion anyway. Matt, I think you will see Tony Popovic join the staff. I'd be interested because he's done very well in Australia in the A-League. I know he's won it with Perth. Did he win the league with Perth Glory recently? And also did it with West Sydney as well, if I remember rightly. So, yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. It would be nice to see someone like... but the only big worry, I think, a lot Palace fans will say is that ex-Palace players don't always do very well as managers, but Roy is an ex-Palace player. So, Laurie Scott, Ayew will be a cheap Fraser Campbell. He's good he's a good squad player. I must admit, he's a good squad player. He's a good player we can have for the cups, but not first team. Rumour is he's on his way, but not to manage. No, I think he would be a coach. And actually, we need someone who's a defensive coach, because I think that would help us, because Popovic was always known as an exceptionally decent defender. I always thought he was a good defender. And as a defensive coach, I think he'd be fantastic for Palace. And a future manager, maybe. Could learn a lot from Roy. Richie, I've seen donkeys at Blackpool Beach play better than Ayew. I'm not going to comment on that one, mate. I'm not going to comment. But as I say, squad player, possibly, but not as a first team player. Laurie Scott, harsh but true. Right, anyway, let's have a look what the time is, guys. It is nearly 20 to 10. Anybody got any more questions? Does anybody want to come on before I go? I mean, today, I'll just have a look at the stats. We'll have a look at the stats now before we wrap up. If anyone wants to come on, let me know. So, general play, possession today, 72 to 27 in favour of Arsenal in possession. Duels won, 50% equal. Aerial duels. Palace won 58% to the Arsenal's 42%. Offsides, Palace were offside twice, Arsenal once. Arsenal had 8 corners to Palace's 3. On the attack, Palace today, you look at the amount of shots they had. Palace scored 3 goals. They had 16 shots and 7 on target, which is an improvement on what we've been doing of late. So that's a big improvement. Arsenal had 2 goals, 12 shots and 5 on target. Laurie wants to come on. Laurie, if you want to come on and defend Roy Hodgson, you're most welcome to, mate. Just let me know. Just add yourself in, then you're most welcome to before I go. So Palace blocked 4 shots. Arsenal blocked 2 of ours. Shots on the bar, nothing. Palace had 14 shots inside the box and had 2 outside the box. Arsenal was 8 inside the box and 4 outside the box. So Palace did exceptionally well today. I mean, when you're looking at it. Well, I'm going to bring in Laurie, because Laurie's going to come in and defend Roy. Just adding Laurie right now. Hopefully he'll be in any second now. It's like Facebook Live. The connections, it always relies on the connection. So hopefully Laurie will be coming on any second. While he does, I'm just looking at defence actually. Palace made 25 tackles to tackles won 56%. Arsenal 15 tackles won 46.7%. Clearances, Palace made 31 clearances to Arsenal's 5 and made 18 interceptions to Arsenal's 11. Richie says, I still say we need to do more shooting at training. Troy, regards to Laurie, what's to defend? I can't disagree there, mate. Laurie, I don't think you're still saying adding. I don't know what the situation is. I think there might be an issue at your end. I'm going to cut off in the next 5 minutes. So if I can get you on before then, mate, I'll try. Try again if you want to. And finally, discipline. Palace conceded 12 fouls to Arsenal's 15. Palace had 1 yellow card. Arsenal had 4. Obviously, no red cards. So on the whole of it, Palace, considering the amount of possession we had, we used it. As I said to you all earlier, we used it well. We played exceptionally well today. And, I think, just to put this into context, just looking at the other things that have come out of this game as well. Arsenal have won each of the last 6 London derbies at home in the Premier League up until today. Their best run in the competition since 11 straight victories between December 2001 and November 2003. So I'll try Laurie again, see if we can get him on. Richie's also saying a reply to Troy. Yeah, some folk want him sacked. Hi, Laurie.
Hi, John. Sorry, some issues at this end. Getting on.
No worries, no worries. That's fine. Now, you were coming on to defend Roy. What were you going to say, Laurie?
Well, obviously, you can see I'm old school, but I think Roy's been around many clubs and he's got a wealth of football knowledge. What I would say, I know a lot of people, castigate him for his defensive style, but at the end of the day, the players have to put the points on the board early enough for him to change his formation and tactics. I think for far too long, Palace over the years have played people out of position. We played without recognised strikers. We played without left backs. It just does not work. Um, Ultimately, at the end of the day, if we haven't got a striker up front, we're not going to get many goals. And well, certainly last season that proved the case, didn't it? In the first 8 games, I mean.
Yeah.
But I think if we get points on the board, then Roy can be a little bit more expansive in what he does. People decry Max Meyer. Max Meyer to me is the young Cabaye. Cabaye didn't have very many great games for Palace, but he was a playmaker.
Yeah.
I know criticising Dan Kelly and Ward, yes, they've come in to cover because out of necessity, but going forward, they're not the sort of defenders that Palace should be playing, because ultimately everybody in the Premiership now plays attacking football. You look at Sacco, he plays a key defining ball. Yes, he has the odd mix-up, but punting it into touch and punting long ball forwards,
Yeah.
you're going to alienate people like Meyer because you're bypassing the midfield. If we can work it through that midfield, you can still use Benteke to good a force if you put the ball out wide.
Yeah. I mean, what I was going to say to you was, regards to Roy, now, just playing devil's advocate here. Now, as you know, there's been a lot of comment this season in regards to Roy about his game management and the substitutions being made too late in games. What would you say to that?
I agree in certain cases. There have been games where Palace have come back, and it escapes me the certain games, but where we've come back, I think Bournemouth was a game in question, whereby we should have pressed on there. They were sitting back, they were there for the taking. Brighton was another example, whereby we got back into the game, and I think if we'd gone a bit more attacking, we could have effectively won that game. I was surprised to.
Sorry,
again,
go ahead,
I was surprised today when to see Ward playing, but in accepting that, PVA's been poor this season. Last few games he's been poor, but it was surprising when he brought Ayew on, because I thought Ward was tiring towards the end of the game. He gave that second goal away. Admittedly, I had people around celebrating Easter, and I only got snippets online. But I saw Ward several times out of position. I know he come back and headed that dangerous cross away for a corner. But where was he? He should have been goal side of that man anyway. So that was my reason by saying I think they are Championship defenders.
Right, no, that's fine. I mean, obviously, it's a fact that it's all everybody's opinions are entitled here, and I mean, I'm glad that you put it out there. So, but I mean, I agree with you with regards to Roy. I know there's a lot of being said on social media about whether he should go or not, and I agree with you. I don't think he should. It's the first time we've had stability at this club in a long, long time, but it's nice to be able to say, we're 7th consecutive season next season in the Premier League, which is fantastic from where we've come from. But I've never understood the Roy out stuff. I mean, okay, midway through the season, I think even I was like, what's going on? Maybe we should start thinking about looking at changing it. But to be fair, he's come through, and as you say, he's got the experience to change it, and he has done, and he's done it at Fulham before as well. I mean, they got to, they had I think it was the season after they had a relegation dogfight. They were in Europa League. So you can't rule anything out for him because of his tactical knowledge.
Well, I think his mandate would have been to get 40 points and top half of the table, which is achieved. We're now, in the Premiership for the longest that we've ever been, and ultimately, at the end of the day, if you ask a manager to do that and he's delivered, then, what's the need to change?
Yeah.
I think to a certain extent it's down to the players. I think certain players haven't performed at certain times. And we have got a squad there capable of being the best of the rest. I personally think we're better than the likes of Watford, these sort of clubs. Leicester, we can match those clubs, but at the end of the day, we haven't been well served by injuries. We've gone down the route of relying on Wickham coming back. Well, he's nowhere to be seen. We've played people out of position. I see someone making a comment. No, Ward isn't a left back. He played out of position. I don't think he would have played if Jeffrey Slook had been available, because Slook could have gone back and played left back. And I think that would have been a better option, because I think PVA has probably felt he's been a bit of a shoo-in all season, whereas the last 4 or 5 games he's not been great. He's better as an attacking player, but defensively, he needs Tompkins and Sacco there to read his times when he is caught out of position.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, what I was going to say to you, I mean, I'm going to wrap it up in a second anyway, but who was your man of the match day and why?
Definitely Benteke. I think he's played in the last 3 games, hasn't he? Bit parts.
Yeah.
I think it's great he got a goal. He's a confidence player. I agree with you. He will kick on. I think if you serve Benteke, he's a bit like feed the goat and he'll score, because ultimately at the end of the day, I mean, our home performances this season have been woeful, but that's been basically because he's not been available. I think signing Batshuayi was a bit of a panic buy. We've spent a lot of money on him. I don't think we've necessarily seen the best of him. You can see when he plays one-on-one against defenders, he doesn't attack the ball. He tends to just wait for the defender to miss it. Well, Premiership defenders don't miss those type of headers. You've got to challenge, and Benteke challenges. And I like him. He's he's going to get 2 out of 10, 2 out of 10 chances, but he's a 100% guts in player, and he's not afraid to put his head where it should go. That's basically.
Exactly. Yeah, I agree with you. I've not understood. I mean, I can understand the people. He's been bought and he's cost so much. I mean, we're paying, I think it's about 120k a week, and he hasn't scored for so many games. I think it's 19 now since he hasn't scored. It was the first goal in 19 games he scored.
But without his goals in the first season, we wouldn't be beating Arsenal today.
Exactly, and I mean, it's, he has had a knee injury that we know about that, and I think that up until when he went out for the surgery on his knee, it was clear that he wasn't ready. To be fair, and I don't think that he's been a part of our fan base have been rather critical for him, and I think unfairly so.
And I think if he plays the next 3 games, which hopefully he will, I think they're all winnable games for Palace. I can see us getting 50.
I think we've got Everton up next, and we've got Bournemouth, haven't we? And,
Bournemouth and Cardiff away. I think we've got 50 points in the bag.
Yeah, I agree. I think. I reckon we can finish 10th. 10th, maybe 9th. I don't know about you.
I don't believe in all this rubbish about letting Cardiff win to send Brighton down. That's just not going to happen, and it's not professional. As much as the fans want it, it's not going to happen.
Well, that's it. You don't go out to lose games. You just don't go out. You go out to win on the pitch. You don't go out to lose games, and I agree with you. There's no way we're going to let Cardiff win.
I think for me, Cardiff are down, and I think the Premiership want them down. As much as I like Colin, I think poor old Cardiff have suffered. I mean, Salah died again today. You can't take that. If we're giving penalties for those sort of things, there'd be penalties every 5 minutes.
Exactly, and that's why I think next season we'll be so glad to see VAR in, just to stop those sort of things.
I'm sorry, but to me, Salah is king of the divers, but because he plays for Liverpool, he gets away with it. Nothing's ever mentioned.
I agree. Anyway, look, I'm going to wrap it up there, Laurie.
Yeah, that's fine, John.
5 to 10. But, mate, thank you very much for coming on. It's always a pleasure having you on.
Yeah, good review.
Thanks very much, mate. Take care, yeah?
Enjoy the rest of your holiday.
And you have a good Easter, the rest of it. Take care, mate. See you later.
Cheers, mate.
That was really nice. Thanks very much, Laurie, for coming on. Guys, I'm going to wrap it up there, okay, because it's 5 to 10. I think we've had enough of the chat, although we haven't had enough of this result, have we? It's been a fantastic. Grab a beer, grab a whatever, champagne, whatever you want to drink. We're up. We're seventh consecutive season in the Premier League. Who'd have thought that about 7 years ago when we first got up here? Enjoy tonight. Enjoy your Easter. Come on, you Palace. See you later, guys. Take care.